Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Tony, it's not, as always. This is a breaking news show. This is very different from a normal show because this one we had less time to plan.
Well, I don't know if that's entirely different than a normal show, but yes, it is a breaking news show. Commitment of Legend Bey from North Forney High School in Forney, Texas, a four-star composite athlete, plays quarterback, is a dynamic running quarterback, 5'11", 180-ish, 175-ish, and is the number 24 athlete overall in the 24/7 Sports composite, number 361 player overall, number 47 player in Texas. And Tom, I've seen some Texas high school people mentioning like that he is the most dynamic player in the state, and I'm just going to say it. If you can get the most dynamic player in the state of Texas, I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I definitely don't think that's a bad thing. This is a guy where sometimes you watch the highlights and it's like, well, okay, yeah, everyone looks good in their highlight reel. It's obviously this is all their best plays. This is one where you look at it and it's like, well, most people don't look like that in their highlight reel. Like this is someone who is doing stuff that you just don't see a whole heck of a lot. And just, he's playing quarterback for his high school. He's not going to play quarterback at Ohio State. At least, maybe on a one-off basis, he will throw the football from time to time. But he's someone who feels like I would guess he probably gets his first look at running back. But, could he be some kind of a, third down back, all-purpose receiver, all-purpose back? I think he's someone who he probably takes a year to get up to a college running back kind of weight. But once he does, I keep seeing people compare him to Curtis Samuel. It's like, that's probably not a comp you should throw on guys, but also you can see where the comp comes from.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he was committed to Tennessee, Ohio State flipped him. Also had offers from Texas A&M, Georgia, like Navy for one. I think he would be pretty interesting in the Navy offense. Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Oregon, Texas Tech. Boy, if Texas Tech wants you, you must be pretty good, as we know. But, some real live programs. Carlos Loughlin listed as his primary recruiter. Again, kind of lends you to believe that his future will be at Ohio State. But as Carlos Loughlin always says, if you can't catch the ball, you can't play at Ohio State. You can't play running back at Ohio State. So there's going to be a learning curve. And it is interesting because we have not gone down this learning curve at Ohio State in a while, where they go and get the athletic quarterback who is an athlete to go and play this position or that position. The last one, I think, was Cameron Martinez, who was like, well, he could end up at H, he could end up on defense. He ended up on defense, and then he ended up Boston College?
Boston College, yes.
Yeah, and then before that, like Jalen Marshall, quarterback for Middletown, and that he redshirted, and then as a redshirt freshman was a key member of that 2014 Ohio State football team as that slot receiver. But Curtis Samuel came to Ohio State as a running back and then grew into more as Ohio State was in their constant search for the Percy Harvin role, which eventually became the Curtis Samuel role because he was so good at it. But yes, but Tom, like Legend Bey has run a 10-2, 100. So again, figure it out and go from there.
Yeah, and I'm sure that people are going to be saying, well, Cam Martinez didn't pan out, or Jalen Gill didn't pan out, or Mookie Cooper didn't pan out. And yeah, I mean, this is not a profile that is going to have a 100% hit rate. But I think a couple things that would lend you to, yeah, absolutely, bring him in and figure it out are, number one, the track speed, as you said. And this is not just like, yeah, one guy with a stopwatch one time. Like, no, if you're running track, like they take the times pretty seriously in track, rather famously. So that's one piece of information. Another thing that's a little different than playing, small school Northern Michigan high school football is he's playing in the same conference that Jackson Smith and Jigba did. He plays Jackson Smith and Jigba's old Rockwall team a little later on in the season. And so this is big boy Texas high school football. So when you are running around and making everyone else look like they're standing in quicksand, that means something that it doesn't mean when it's like, well, here we've got this guy and he's from, pick your small school, like, oh, he's from rural Kansas. And boy, he looks like the fastest guy in the field. Like, yeah, man, I would probably be about the third fastest guy in that field. So yeah, this is a very different thing. And this is not a spot where Ohio State has, is desperate and it's like, well, we're just going to throw out an offer and we're going to have to hope we just get someone. We just need to fill this. But this is, Ohio State is loaded at running back. Ohio State is loaded at wide receiver. Ohio State has plenty of guys that can return kicks. So if they're looking at Legend Bey and saying, hey, boy, this is a guy who you could bring in and boy, he could really be a contributor at some point, that should be, in addition to all the other stuff, that should be another thing that tells you, okay, yes, this exact, this type of profile has not necessarily always worked in the past for Ohio State, but when it has, boy, it has really worked. And there are some markers here that, yeah, this could very well be on something that ends up on the positive side of that.
Well, and I think one of the differences is that if you are just looking at him to play running back, that's a much different transition than moving to having play receiver. And we all remember the old Urban Meyer ways of recruiting a lot of these guys, and then the years that it would take to develop a quarterback to become a receiver. Where here, you're playing a running quarterback, and now you turn into a running back, and it's a lot simpler thing. Even Curtis Samuel was a running back in high school, played running back as a true freshman at Ohio State, and then started to progress after that. But he started a game as a true freshman at running back at Ohio State when, Ezekiel Elliott had a bad week of practice or something, and they threw Curtis Samuel in, I think maybe against Illinois or something. So like he was part of that room and then became more. And I just think the development is a different kind of thing here. If he is going to stay at running back, I think that's an easier transition. And then again, athletes are athletes. They can go and catch the ball in the flats and do those things and run routes. And I'm sure he can run routes. I've seen him run routes at some of the camps. So like, that's clearly, you'd have to go. If you wanted to be quarterback, he could go play quarterback somewhere. He understands where his future is. And that's something that not everybody does. So again, that's a check in the good box there, that he understands what, his physical traits limit him to, but also open him to. And he's certainly got some unique physical traits that could bode well in the future. Anything else, Tom, before we get out of here? Nice little pickup here for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, very nice pickup. And I think he's in a good spot where they don't need him to be an immediate impact guy if he has the ability to. And as you said, the learning curve is not going to be a, really brutal learning curve. Ohio State has taken some guys where it's, they take them and it's like, yeah, I mean, I see what you see, but we'll see in 2 years. Mm-hmm. This is not one of those. This is something where, he might have a good winter and spring in the weight room with Coach Mick and be ready to go as a true freshman. They won't need him because they're deep at running back. They're deep at wide receiver. You've got kick return guys you could run out there, but if he's ready, their opportunity awaits.
Yeah, definitely. Opportunity does await. So there you go. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. Of course, podcast platform of choice, a 5-star rating and review is always appreciated. Buckeyes pick up their latest commitment in Legend Bey out of Texas. Dynamic 10-2 in the 100 meters. Some say 4-3 in the 40. So not that the 40 is a thing anymore. Let's talk about miles per hour. That's what everybody's talking about. But the 10-2 in the 100 meters, certainly legit. So there you go. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you all later.